Hi friends, hope you are doing well. Today I'm going to discuss a question which is very important for people who are going to college, and this may be college at the bachelor's degree level, the master's degree level, the PhD level, or even as the postdoc. So essentially the question is how to choose a college. And this question can apply in two situations. One is the situation where you have got admissions and scholarships to several colleges and universities and you need to make a selection. And the second point is if you are planning to apply to a set of colleges and universities, how do you make a short list? So it's better to consider some of these issues even before you apply to universities, because if you do get admission into some of these universities and there are problems with the different aspects I mentioned today, your life is not going to be very comfortable, and so you may not have an optimal solution there. So let's start with the number of things which I have listed here for choosing your college. So the number one, and this is the most well-known one, which is rank and name of the college or university. And this is important because the rank and name of the university is going to stick with you for the rest of your life, and at least for the first few years after your graduation, this is going to play a very important role in your career. So essentially, if you are from a well-known university, from a university which is well-known in a particular field, then it is easier to get a job, it is easier to get summer internships, and essentially for the first few years you are better off if you are from a top university in any country. Now what happens is that with the passage of time, this advantage tends to diminish, and you will see that in many cases after many years or so, it does not really matter which university you are from, but at least at the beginning it matters a lot. If you are in a good university, many good companies come there, there are possibilities of getting placed in top companies right away and so on. So that's the number one issue, rank and name of the university. Now the number two issue is of location, and location is very important because of several reasons. So let's look at the main reason first. Now essentially nowadays what happens is that many companies and institutions tend to cluster around a few big cities, and this happens because there is a lot of talent there, there is a lot of localized talent there, and the companies are able to feed into this talent pool. So for example, if you are a person in the computer science area, you would know that Silicon Valley in San Francisco is a hub there, so any university here would be very advantageous for you. If you are in India in computer science, you know that Bangalore is a good place to be. If you are in finance, you know in US that New York is the good place to be there. If you are in India, Bombay or Mumbai is a good place to be. So location does matter, and location helps you in getting campus placement, location helps you in getting summer internships, and also location, if it is good, provides the possibility that you can get a job in case things don't work out for you well in college. So it can often happen, especially in graduate school, if you're doing a master's or PhD program, that things are not working out for you. Maybe you don't want to do graduate study, maybe you are not getting along well with your PhD advisor, and in that situation what you can do is that you can leave the university and get a job in the same town or place. Now most companies are not going to provide you with the airfare to fly to a faraway location to give the interview, but they are very happy to interview if you are a local candidate. So always consider the fact in mind that especially smaller companies would like to interview you if you are a local candidate, and also summer internships are very easy to get if you're a local candidate. So though remote work has become important in some areas, it is again diminishing in importance over time as the pandemic retreats, and so location is going to become more important. Now I know a guy, for example, he went to Germany and he was studying mechanical engineering, and he chose the location in Munich. And if you know, Munich is a center of BMW, Stuttgart is a center of Mercedes, and these are very close locations. So this guy was in a very good situations to get internship in some of these companies. So again, this is something which you can keep in mind while you are deciding to choose a college. Now the number third issue is the expense of the location, and this becomes important because most of the time you have to pay for your staying at the university location. So if you are located in a very big city, for example New York or San Francisco, the cost of rent is very high, and therefore you should consider this fact when you are applying to any university. If you are located in a rural location in some small town, it may be that the cost may be much lower. Most of the cost for a student is in terms of renting. So remember that many universities do not provide dorms after the first year of college, or do not provide dorms to graduate students. Sometimes the dorms are very noisy and boisterous places, and they are not very suited for serious students. So the students tend to find out apartment complexes and take rent there. So keep that in mind. The expense of the place is going to have a big impact for you. Now the fourth point is the distance of the university location from your hometown, and this is important to some people. It may not be important to others. There are people who do get homesick, who want to go home during festivals such as Christmas or Thanksgiving or Diwali or Eid or New Year. And what happens is that if you are located very far away, the airfare may be very expensive. It may also be that you are located in a place which is not well connected to various places. So you may need to take a large number of connecting flights before you land up in your hometown, and this can also be very time consuming for most people. So if you are getting a 7-day break, if it takes 3-4 days to just travel, then most likely you are not even going to go to your home during the breaks. And what may happen is that you may end up being quite a depressed person, as you may be the only person who is staying in the university. So keep this in mind. If you are a person who is prone to homesickness or who likes to go to his hometown during the breaks, then distance from home is an important issue to consider when selecting a college. Now the fifth issue, and this is probably an important issue for most people, is the cost of college. And again, the cost of college is very important because it varies a lot, and you have to factor in the cost versus the rank in many cases. Now cost of college happens because the tuition is pretty high. There is the cost of books, there is the cost of staying in the location where you're in, there is the cost of food, and so on. And at least in most countries, the state universities tend to be much cheaper. In some countries such as Germany, you may not even need to pay tuition. So keep these things in mind. Typically state subsidized education is still possible. Certainly for graduate study, you can get funding from your university or from some foundation for fellowships, and that is certainly possible for postdoc situation. So especially if you are doing a UG degree, bachelor's degree, or you are doing a master's degree, keep in mind that you may want to go to a college which is less expensive. Most of the courses which are taught in every college are exactly the same. They are in fact mandated by certain national bodies. The syllabus is the same, and so on. So if you are taking a course in machine learning or you are taking a course in mechanical design, it's not going to be very different across different universities. So once you have decided on your major, you can actually choose the college which is cost effective for you, because this can save you money or it can save your parents money, as the case may be. Do not get seduced by the possibility of taking large loans to attend fancy universities, because do remember that at the end of the day you do have to pay off these loans, and the fancy university degree may not help you a lot unless it is in a relatively hot area and you are almost certain of getting a job. Now the next issue is that of weather, and this is a tertiary issue, but many people find it to become very important in their later years of life. So what happens is that they choose to come to a place which is maybe very cold or very hot, and then after a few years they find that the climate does not gel with them at all. So I know people who come from south of India to places such as Chicago or in Canada, and then during the winter they get highly depressed, not just because of the extreme cold situation, but also because of the gloomy skies and the weather, which is essentially of a melancholy type, and they do not have the mindset to actually cope with this kind of weather. So keep these things in mind, especially if you are a graduate student. You will have to work through the winter break, through the summer breaks, and so on. And so keep in mind that the weather of the place is something which matches with your temperament. Finally, number 7 point I would say is the issue of culture. And culture becomes important because there are locations in any country which may not fit with your cultural type. So if you're a person who is very liberal and you land up in a very conservative small town, it may be that you may not feel at home in this place. So these things become very important for people of marginalized communities. If they land up in certain places where the people are very conservative, they may not like that place, and vice versa. So keep that in mind. The culture of the university town or location is very important. It's going to play a role later in your life. Now, one of the things I would say is that the importance of these different aspects will be different for different people. So you need to consider your predilections. Certainly the rank and name of the university is important, but when you are applying or you are beginning to apply, keep in mind that there are many good ranked universities around the world, and therefore if you are selecting a good ranked university, you can look at all the other factors also, specifically the cost of the university, the location, the distance from your hometown, the culture, the weather, and so on, and then bring up a list of maybe 5 to 10 universities which are optimal for you. And if you do this work before you apply, you will find that you are not going to have many of the cultural shocks and the cost issues which plague many of the students who apply without doing too much research. And this aspect is also very important for parents who are planning to fund their children to go to faraway universities. Keep this in mind, that sometimes the students get carried away by only the name of the university and the rank of the university, and they do not look at all these secondary issues, but these issues can often be more important as time goes by. So if you don't want your son or daughter to get depressed, then take a look at some of these factors before you send them off to distant universities. So this was my take on how to choose a college or a university. I hope this video benefits you. Stay tuned to my channel and make sure you like my videos and you subscribe to my channel. So I will see you sometime soon. See you then.